Yeah,
I don't know, Candy Crush.
very close. It's number 2 at 12
Hmm.
billion. Number 1 is Honor of Kings Arena of Valor,
Oh, that doesn't surprise me either.
which is 18.6 billion. It's 50%. I mean, it crushes Candy Crush.
Arena of Valor is the like Chinese what's it
Uh-huh.
called? League of Legends
Tencent.
MOBA thing that like everybody can play on mobile across the world. It right?
Yeah.
It's the same creators as Garena, the Free Fire, and both of those are
Oh
like
yeah.
the two highest played games. Where like most games are looking for player bases in the millions to 100 millions. That game had a player base in like the beginning of billion.
Hmm. Garena Free Fire though is number 15.
Yeah, well, it's a newer game, so it just hasn't had as much time as
Oh,
Arena of Valor to accumulate that money. The fact that it's
not
only a
much.
few years old by comparison,
Mhm.
it caught up pretty fast, being in number 15.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it says it's been around since 2017. Oh, the end of 2017.
Yeah.
Um, whereas Arena of Valor, well, end of 2015. So it's only got 2 years on it.
Yeah, I also think there's more things to spend money on in Arena of Valor as well.
Yeah.
But still, that's really impressive for being 2 years younger and having less things to spend money on, that it's still like number 15.
Well, yeah, you can't complain about $4.3 billion.
Yeah. Hey, I think we're running.
Oh, on the same stream?
No. Oh, well, I mean, Twitch is Twitch, but it's probably going to be another
Third
YouTube
one?
one. I'll just have to the numbers like part 1, part 2, part 3, whatever's.
Yeah.
I'll put the end card thing so people could just go straight to the next one.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I'm just fascinated by the fact that this shit makes so much goddamn money.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm just saying, man, we should make
Yeah,
a mobile
Zenless.
game.
I'll be, if we could, I'll be very interested in seeing if Zenless Zone Zero continues to make more than Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact.
Yeah, that's the big question. Is like, I think the guy I watched Gotcha Smack was talking about this, and it's like, it's very easy for. I mean, the debut always does this big. That's like all people wail out on the very first banner. To date, they've still made more money off of Sela banner 1 for Honkai Star Rail than they have on any banner after. Though Acheron came really close, and Genshin made a lot of money on its debut banner. But it's really easy to make that much money when there's nothing worth spending in the same month on the other games, right? So we're going to see is their total going to remain the same? Or are we going to see the tide lift on all of them once there's good banners on the other games too? And is Zenless going to drop back down?
Yeah, because it does look like a lot of the money probably came from those other two.
Combined, though,
Genshin and
this is still
Honkai.
their high, or within their higher reach, right? So, like, before Zenless was added, their highest is still about like 200 million a month, right? That would be split between those two games. I mean, technically, HI3 is there too, but HI3 is in the lower 7-figure range. It doesn't really get into the 8-figure, right? It's like
What?
1 to 2.
Which one got? Was
Honkai
it
Impact
Genshin that got
third.
200,000?
Oh, no. Together, they would get like 200,000, right? Between Genshin and Star Rail,
wow.
right? On their highest.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they're close. They were close to that in June.
Yeah. And on their lowest, they might together be about 80,000, right? Where they're both hitting about or 80 million, where they're both hitting like the 40 each stable. So,
Well, they got 70
yeah.
here in July.
But when you add all of them together, they made like 150-ish, right? Which is kind of like their mid. If they can bring their bottom to stably being about 150-ish, then it would look like Zenless is making a difference, right? If they tighten the their range more from month to month.
I mean, there's just so much more competition, I think, than there was just a few months ago.
Yeah.
There was no Zenless Zone Zero. There was no Snowbreak, I don't think. There was no Wuthering Waves, which, I mean, that sucked up 30 million there.
Yeah.
So, but it's all the same companies, right?
Well, just Zenless, Genshin, and Star Rail there are the same company. That's a HoYoverse.
Yeah.
Wuthering Waves
Zenless
is Kuro.
the same company.
Yeah, Zenless is the same company. Wuthering Waves is Kuro, which they do have another game on here, but it's way further down, and I think it made like 2 million this time. It's Punishing Grey Raven, which I think did better because of Wuthering Waves. Yeah, it was like, just round up to 3 million.
Yeah.
Did like 1.5 times better than it did last month. Or the month before that. And I think it did better because of Wuthering. But it's like, I mean, Hoyo is just rocking the charts with only this Love in Deep Space.
No kidding.
Being the real competitor this last month.
Yeah. We briefly touched on the layoffs and stuff. I mean, think about it. This is where the money's going, right?
Yeah.
Instead of buying shitty AAA games with horrifyingly bad, character design, people are buying their waifu, pulls and things.
Yeah.
On these games.
Because they actually get pretty characters here. Like, Love in Deep Space, I think, is actually tapping into the core female market here, right? Because these other games do, Star Rail, Genshin, Zenless do. They've got guy characters and girls like collecting pretty girls too, and especially Star Rail being a turn-based RPG tends to be a little bit more appealing to most girls than action games do on average. But like Love in Deep Space, I think even looking at some of the gameplay, despite being action, you can almost play it like an RPG because there's a lot of like spell casting and stuff like that where you can stand back and even though it's not turn-based, you can almost make it function as turn-based if you play the game right. This game really knows how to appeal to that core female audience, especially unlike the Hoyo games where you just have fixed character options for your main character, right? Like you can either pick a boy or a girl, but it is the boy or the girl. That's it. No options. They actually let you customize your main girl character in Love in Deep Space. So they're definitely onto something there with trying to capture a big demographic in the mobile gaming audience.
I'm just a brief back of the napkin calculation here. What we're looking at just in these games is at least $500 million revenue a month.
Yeah,
maybe up to 600 million. If you add them all up. And it's like, just think about that. Yeah, that's well, I guess that's not huge for the whole industry, but 6 billion a year. What's the industry up to? It's at least 100. Is it 100 billion? Industry.
Fizz says, I actually think a gacha game with nothing but pretty boys would actually sell more than normal gacha games. That's probably not. I mean, Love in Deep Space is doing really good, but I think the gameplay has more to do with that than just having the pretty boys. Tears of Themis, which is another Hoyo game, did better this last month. It actually did pretty well compared to normal. Where was it? It did 3.5 million compared to the 1.9 it did the month before that. But it is a boy collector, and it doesn't necessarily do as well. Mechanics matter more than anything. And if you are going to do pretty boys, you need to what's it called? You need to target your mechanics and all of that stuff at that core audience, which is going to be probably teenage to young adult girls, like 20s of women.
Mm-hmm. God, I'm just fascinated by these numbers.
Yeah.
Apparently, in 2022, the game industry raked in $47.5 billion in total revenue, but like literally 95% of that or more was only 100. It was completely from China.
Yeah.
Like almost 46 of the 47.5 billion.
Well, when you divide it by region too, you can see how much more China even spends on these games than everybody else does, right? Because we did have that other chart, and I jump over. If you look at just Zenless, right? We'll only go with Zenless. You've got the global, which includes everyone but China in this one. They spent, or I guess we spent 30 million. Then you go to just China's, and they spent 66 million. Right? They spent more than twice what every other region did combined.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. But when we talk about the Love and Deep Space, where he said like why like a Pretty Boy game would do better, the thing is they're doing really well, and I do think it's mostly mechanics. It's a fun game, so you even have some guys playing it. As good as they're doing, Star Rail and Genshin usually do better than it. Like if we're going by their average month, their low is usually around 40 million on the dry banners, which they're not even that far below right now. Let's see. Yeah, Genshin Star Rail, they're barely a few million below that. This is one of their drier months. Usually they do better. And part of it is mechanics. They're fun games. They're brand games. Like people know them. They follow the stories and stuff. So you can't just rely on having pretty characters. Like the game has to be a fun game. You want both, right? It is a visual experience. Yeah. People want games with pretty characters, but they also want games that they have fun playing.
I mean, is what's it called? Diablo Immortal? I don't think it's even on here.
No, it's not.
Nobody plays that anymore, I guess. Nobody spends money on it. Because, like, it was so repetitive and boring and just crazily, just bad. So I think it did well for the first month or two, but
yeah,
people ran out of stuff to do. I like
game Fish Chozo.
Yeah. I like Ever Crisis because they're constantly having new events. Yeah. And by the way, the co-op has gotten better for me anyway. Obviously it's always very easy to get co-op groups for the events. But even the non-events, as long as you do it within at least the first couple of days, it doesn't have to be the first day. I've been able to complete all of the non-event new co-ops within a couple of days of them coming out. Sometimes I end up having to do a lot of somewhat difficult battles with only one other person who I can get to join. But I think the guilds has helped. Not that I've gotten anyone else from our guild because we only have the two of us.
Yeah, and
it would help if we had more people. Yeah, but I mean, I've been able to sort of form a brief temporary guild, like with 2 or 3 people. If I go in and invite, because I started to get invitations to co-ops, which I had never gotten before a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, if you go in there and see who in your friends list is currently on and invite like the top 5, you'll get 1 or 2 people joining. So
see, Fischoso asks, is there a Warcraft mobile game or StarCraft? They were actually doing a Warcraft mobile. I don't know if it ever came out. I have not been following. I can't imagine it did very well.
I don't think so. Blizzard mobile. Well, there's this Warcraft Rumble.
Yeah, that was the one I remember. I don't remember if that did well. I would imagine it didn't, but
yeah, it's like more of a tower defense game.
But he was also asking, are there any mobile games aimed at that webtoon audience? Which I'm not going to repeat what he said the webtoon audience was. I mean, that game that we were just talking about, kind of, sort of. You could also say that Tears of Themis is also aimed at that. Because it's basically, Tears of Themis is a boy collector that plays like a Phoenix Wright game, visual novel, but also there's like, you collect the boys and they're card battles, sort of.
Yeah. Well, that Love in Deep Space, isn't that aimed at the sort of
it is.
preteen
and it's
girls
doing well right now.
audience?
No, like I said, the reason it's
teen
doing
girls.
well is it has a good target audience of people who want to spend money, but also it's a good game.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
more.
what was
just
it? What
girls
was the
are
one
playing
that you
it.
mentioned?
Tears of Themis, which actually did better this month. It's down to like the 2 million right now.
Okay.
It's their other game. It's pretty old at this point. It's phone only. They don't have a PC client for it, but it does about on average as well as Honkai Impact Third does. Their other game. They're pretty close to each other.
Huh. Oh, okay, yeah, 3.5 billion or 3.5 million. I thought Honkai Impact Third was higher.
Oh
Man,
no,
it's hard to
actually,
find.
it's lower right now. It's 2.1 or almost 2.2.
Oh, okay. You're right. Yeah, they're about.
But they're contemporaries. They usually go back and forth with each other depending on like the event and stuff going on. Honkai Impact Third, by the way, is their best game that they have. I like Zenless a lot, but they have not made a better game than Impact Third. It's their best game that nobody plays for a few reasons. One, they don't have an English dub, so you can read it in English just fine, but not having a dub is like a make or break for a lot of people. It's also got like 7 years of combat. Some of the older stuff feels old. But after doing the tutorial chapter, like chapter 1, you can just jump straight into part 2, which is brand new. You don't have to go through all the old stuff if you don't want to. But it's just like, there's so many things about it that turn people off before they give it a chance. It's like, but it's their best game. And it's got all the old things that games used to have, like guilds and like world chats and stuff like that.
I wonder if that's the reason why Ever Crisis doesn't do too well, because it's not dubbed in English.
I don't know. Maybe. It's kind of doing as well as the Final Fantasy games always do, and some of the other ones are dubbed in English. I think the issue is just like, most people don't want to play a mobile Final Fantasy game. They'd rather just like buy the console game and play it, even though I think a lot of their mobile games are pretty good. Like, I might reinstall it if I get space on my phone. I played the shit out of War of Visions for years. I played the original Brave Exvius. I played Mobius Final Fantasy. I played Record Keeper. Like, I see a new one, I go out and try it, and a lot of them are good. They're, like, fun games, but you just don't ever get too many people playing them.
I am tempted, because I still haven't gotten around to playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, other than just, like, the first 20 minutes. Although then I watched a review of it.
Yeah.
Which I knew, I already knew everything that they talked about, but it just reminded me how bad it is in terms of story and everything. They kind of ruined. I know it's, we've learned that, actually it's not a remake. It's actually sort of a sequel.
Yeah, time loop travel thing, divergent paths and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they also just ruin some of the best parts of Final Fantasy in that specifically there's way too much Sephiroth.
Yeah.
And it's just like, clearly they're just like, hey, remember Sephiroth? Yeah, he's in this all the time. And it's like, he wasn't supposed to be. He was supposed to be this mysterious. You didn't even know he was the main bad guy.
And even like a few of the times that you actually did see him, later you find out it actually wasn't Sephiroth. It was one of the other guys in the hoods, and you were just mesmerized into thinking it was Sephiroth. That happened a couple times in the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But that could be the case here too.
It could, but we
But-
just don't
but
know
the
yet. They'd
bottom
have to
line
reveal
was-
that later, and it's still too much.
Yeah, he didn't show up in why am I blanking out?
Midgar.
In the first part.
Like, you didn't-
Midgar.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because one of the first
It
signs is
wasn't
after you
being-
leave, right? And then like later on,
Yeah.
you're being chased by the Midgar serpent. You go and you come back, and all of a sudden the serpent is stuck through a natural like pike in the ground, like that
Yeah.
like big old mountain. And then you're just like, could this be Sephiroth's work?
Yeah. Well, he did kill the president of Shinra.
Yeah, that too.
But you don't see it.
You never
You
see
just
him.
see the sword, stuck through, which I'm wondering.
Well, and it may not have been him, right? Like,
Right.
it definitely was his
But-
work, but it could have been one of the minions that were working for
I'm
him.
sure it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, none of the Sephiroth,
Because
the
as
entire
far as we know,
game
he was inside the
doesn't
live
have a
stream like the
physical
whole
form.
fucking time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
from the very beginning, he was
I'm
that
pretty sure too.
partial torso stuck in a crystal, right?
I think any time we
Um,
saw him was actually one of like the acolytes that had the Genova cells inside of them.
Yeah.
You know.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just, it sucks that they were like, oh, nostalgia, rather than gradual build up. But anyway, that's completely different.
Because honestly, Sephiroth isn't even that cool of a villain, right? The mystery of not dealing with him makes him cooler than he would be if he was in your face the whole time.
Yeah.
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 Unlike Kefka, who's
But
like
anyway.
an interesting villain the first time you meet him.
Yeah, yeah. But it is true that playing Crisis Core or Ever Crisis has made me want to go ahead and at least play through
Yeah.
the remake, and maybe even play Rebirth, which I've heard is better, but I haven't heard much about
See,
it.
I've heard the opposite. I heard a lot more people prefer
Oh, really?
remake, and then aside from the Golden Saucer stuff, which they inflated a lot, so you could spend a lot of time in the Gold Saucer. Aside from that it was worse widely. Like most people didn't like it as much.
Oh, well, never mind then.
Yeah.
I haven't even bought it. I don't even own it yet. So, kind of want to. I feel like I should probably at least play the remake before I even buy the next one. So.
Well, we got disconnected twice. We are kind of at the end, and both you and I are tired. I didn't really have a lot of time to bring up the other stuff.
Well, I mean, we could do one more thing if you want, or.
Well, they're both pretty short. The first one was the Animal Crossing Lego lineup has been expanding, and they actually bring KK Slider into it. Finally, it's always cool to collect KK Slider, which I thought was funny. After I sent you that message earlier, because every time I respond to somebody with KK, I'm really tempted to just say Slider afterwards, or just say Toda KK instead.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool to have a little.
That's
Lego.
weird. You're weird, Metal.
I know. I've played way too much Animal Crossing. That's the real thing. I could not even count the thousands of hours I've spent in Animal Crossing across the entire franchise.
So
To
what?
answer your earlier question, I
Animal
don't care about your
Crossing.
question.
What was the question?
Something about a
How well did the
Bethesda
I don't
Elder
know.
Scrolls version of Fallout Shelter, the Elder Scrolls Kingdom game that looked kind of stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer.
I don't either. That's why I ignored it. I don't have any answer towards that.
Boy, these are kind of cute, but the play sets are really quite small.
Yeah,
I
especially
mean,
for
they're
how
just
much
like
you're
little
spending on them.
houses. How much are they? I'm
Though actually,
almost
38
afraid.
for the Dodo Airlines set is not that bad for the plane and the dock and the building. It's the new one, KK's Concert Plaza, which has like the town hall. It's got RV and like a booth set up. It's like $80.
Yeah, like this Nook's
550
Cranny.
piece set, but
Nook's Cranny in Rosie's house, which is only 500 pieces.
Yeah.
$75.
Yeah.
My God, what a ripoff.
And that's even like the Dodo Airlines is 38, right? So basically
It's
40 for 300 pieces.
Yeah, I mean it's like a half a house. Like, why don't if they're gonna have Nook's Cranny, make it an entire building
Yeah. Well, they're charging you.
instead of just half a building.
They're charging you for the license per piece. That's what they're charging you.
This is like 15 cents a piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
For 535 pieces.
That's how much those
$75.
pieces are worth when you have the license slapped on them. Nintendo needs their cut too.
Holy crap. I didn't even know these existed. Oh, at least the Dodo Airlines, at least it has an airplane, but
Yeah, it's
such
a cooler looking
small
one for being a smaller set, right? Like it's a small set,
yeah.
but it looks like you're getting more of your money's worth out of it than when I'm looking at the KK Slider set.
Lego's always been this expensive?
Yeah, Lego has actually always been kind of expensive. The only way to get Lego cheap is when you get like a non-themed set and you just get like the construction blocks, like the big chest that has all the different blocks in it.
Wow.
And you just have to do your
But
own
yeah,
thing
it was
there.
like the non-licensed stuff, like, what was it, like Lego City Undercover and stuff like that. I feel like that wasn't that expensive. Probably not,
well,
because
I don't know, Undercover. Well, because Undercover is a branch of Lego City. The Lego City line is probably their cheaper set line because there's no license involved. It's just straight up a Lego thing. Yeah. But they make most of their money off their licensed products. So it has to be more expensive because that's what most people buy. They want like the minifigs of their favorite characters.
Mm-hmm.
How expensive is Transformers now? I have no idea. I've not bought a Transformer product in years, let alone looked at how much they cost. I when I was a kid, it was a long time ago, buying something like Optimus Prime in the late 90s or early aughts, I think in like 2003, I bought, was it 3 or 4? Whenever Transformer Armada was going off, I bought like the Optimus Prime that was there, and it was like $45, right? So it's $45 in like the early aughts. I could only imagine extrapolating inflation that you're probably going to be spending more than you would on a video game. Like maybe $70 for that same exact Optimus Prime size set if you were buying one today.
Yeah.
It's kind of
So what'd you say? So there's like, you said there's a KK Slider. Oh, KK's concert at the Plaza.
Yeah. Which comes
Is
with
that what
like
they've
the
added
Plaza.
recently?
Yeah, and it's got like a van, like a camper one that you'd have from Pocket Camp, and
Yeah, the Plaza is like literally 4 Legos
yeah, that's what it looks like.
stuck together.
See, I just don't want this set because it comes with Isabel.
So, oh,
That's the turn off there. I'm not paying $80 for Isabel. Get that shit out of here.
like they couldn't do a better Plaza thing with like a tree in the middle or something. I don't know. Crazy. All right.
Yeah. There was another thing I wanted to briefly talk about, which I guess we could spend a little bit of time on, and then we can head out.
All right.
And we were talking about this before, but the SAG-AFTRA has finally decided it is going to go through, and it is going to be striking against video game companies, and they're complaining over the lack of AI protections. It was kind of like up in the air. They were talking about doing it the last time we talked about it. They are going to go through with the strike. Which actually could be part of some of the problems. I've noticed a lot of, well, that's a completely different topic for one of them, but a lot of like the Hoyo voice actors have changed recently. Like some of them even retroactively. I think Hua and Tail, Mr. Tail, I think their voice changed. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but the fact that there's a few characters that are changing might have something to do with this. Not sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's all up in the air right now. But, yeah.
Well, in my opinion, if you're a big enough company that you actually have union employees,
Yeah.
you deserve whatever you get.
Hire me. I'll do your voices, and I'll never unionize.
Yeah. These game companies are they're too big and too woke, and they suck.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, Transformers are very expensive as well.
Did you look them up?
Yeah, you can get like Optimus Prime for $90.
90. That was a little bit higher than I thought, but that tracks. Yeah.
Here's one for 60. I don't know what the difference is, but yeah. When did toys get so expensive?
I was so proud back in like the early aughts when I bought my own Optimus Prime. I worked at the warehouse my dad worked at for a whole like Saturday. Earned the money for it. Like, and I did a lot of work. I cleaned like the entire warehouse. I did all of the office trash and stuff like that too. Like, I put in probably more than a full days of work, which probably would have violated some type of child labor laws, but I didn't care. I wanted that, so I got the money I needed for it. Drafted up a bill of pay for the owner of the shop, and I bought me an Optimus Prime with my own money.
I don't even think this action figure transforms.
I would not pay for a transformer that didn't
does.
transform.
Yeah, it does, actually. Okay. Optimus Prime figure converts into a classic Generation 1 truck mode in 35 steps. Yeah, so $55. Looks like the
if I saw a transformer that didn't transform, not only would I not buy it, I would somehow force the store to pay me grievance fees for having to witness this offensive act.
Yeah.
Because Transformer is literally in a name.
And I mean, it looks like plastic. It doesn't look like the nice.
Oh, they used to have like
die-cast
metal and stuff.
metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even the one I bought had a lot of plastic on it, but it also still had a lot of metal. Like all the joints and stuff were metal and everything.
Yeah. I mean, you can get even cheaper ones on Amazon.
Yeah.
$30. But they look like they break.
If there's no metal parts in it, I'm not spending like 80 to 90 bucks on something. Like, no thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yep. Fuck the
Good
unions.
luck if you have kids.
Hire me instead. That's my message.
I was shocked when we talked about it last to hear how many. Like, I know there was a lot of talk about unionizing in the games industry in the last few years, but I had no idea they actually had. Like, I mean, I guess because these companies are so big, but I mean, if I was like a medium-sized company and my employees talked about unionizing, I'd be like, okay, we'll just close the company.
Yeah, I think in this case, though, for the voice actors, it's not really related to the thing we were talking about with the other unions last time, right? Like how Microsoft has their unions. And
it's SAG-AFTRA.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Just if you're in the acting industry, a lot of people just end up joining SAG, right? It's just how it goes. Personally,
I think you have to nowadays. Like, if you want to get.
Depends on what type of work you're looking for, right? Like, if you're trying to get into like maybe the animation industry, a lot of the dub studios might force you to join it as well for animation. I don't think you have to for video games. It's just because they have a share, right? Like a lot of the people who voice act in the video game industry also voice act in like the normal animation and dubbing industry as well. I know most voice over gigs for commercials and radio you don't need to be part of SAG for, but again, shared space. If you do one, you probably do the other. So there's just a lot of SAG people in general.
Yeah. Well, we better sign off before your internet dies again.
Very true. I will still leave the outro screen going, but wherever it decides to die, that'll just be the end of the outro screen. So I clip it off later anyway. But thank you all for coming, especially coming back with us dying twice so far. So if you enjoyed the show, please share it out with somebody else. We'll be on better connections next time because next time we do this, I think I should be home. And I don't know, maybe the show will be more personal in the future. We'll figure that out. But if you really want to support it, please give a donation to streamlabs.com/vomitoriumlive. Really helps us out, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya. Have a good one.